Welcome back to Beg Boris Steel. It's the final game of the season. We've already qualified for the Champions League, but in the last episode we asked you whether you thought we could go on and take Europa to a trophy, and the majority of you thought that we could. So in this episode, our mission is to work out how. Before we try and work out how on earth we're going to guide this tiny Spanish club to a trophy, let's update you on the one game we've played since our last episode. We played Sevilla away from home. We got a 4-2 win, but it wasn't quite as comfortable as the scoreline might suggest. We took the lead through a Rossi penalty. They had the game tied up before half-time, and going late into the game, we looked like we might be struggling to try and win this one, but goals from Murray in the 76th, Milanese in the 79th, and McComb in the 85th minute meant that we were cruising to a 4-1 lead. They scored a goal from a corner deep into stoppage time. Bit of a mistake by Barossi in this game, despite the fact that he got a good average rating. And you can see from the XG, wasn't really a 4-2 kind of performance. Our XG is pumped up by the fact that we had a penalty. Otherwise, maybe Sevilla even shaded this game. So it's not like we are turning teams over. We've got Athletic Bilbao today, a very tough game. They're just one place behind us in the table, and the table is looking pretty good from an Europa point of view. We are on 75 points. We could finish on 78 points. Compared to how we performed last season when we only got 61, 78 points would be superb progress and enough to see us into the Champions League. But you, like me, are hungry to see whether we can achieve more. Could we win the Copa del Rey? Maybe a European honour? Maybe even the La Liga title? Well, if we're going to do it, we're going to need to reinforce the squad from what we've got now. Let's have a look whether youth could be the answer. In a word, no. Or at least not yet. We've had our latest youth intake coming through. Once again, it was branded a golden generation. 4 of the players coming through were given an A grade rating. They weren't that good, I will be honest with you. One of them might be a player that maybe could get involved in first team action in a couple of years' time, but it was not a golden generation as promised. But we are improving the facilities all the time, and we will try and improve them again. Another notch at the end of the season. Let's show you the 2 youth players that I think might have a chance of making it with the club. One came through a year ago, and that is Pablo Diaz. He's fairly professional, a personality that I like. He is not glorious when it comes to his physical elements to his game, and he's only 5'5", which could be a bit problematic in those midfield areas, especially if he was going to play as a halfback supporting the defence. But mentally, he's okay. Really do like his bravery. Technically, he's not a barren wasteland. He can pass a ball and tackle, even if his first touch is a little bit suspect. He's a maybe, really, an outside shot. But a player has come through the most recent youth intake that might be a bit of a stronger candidate. This is Jorge Jimenez, who has a balanced personality, not ideal, but not disastrous. And as a striker, he's got some reasonable elements to his game. His strength is suspect, and he's not as quick as you might like for a player who's only 5'10". But otherwise, he's got some decent elements to his game. The teamwork's all right, and the work rate's all right. Maybe as a pressing forward, he could be useful. He's not a great finisher, neither is his off-the-ball perfect. Maybe he could be retrained as a central midfielder because his passing is 12, and maybe he might be more used to us in that kind of role. But at only 15 years old, little Jorge is not a write-off. You never know. Could be a player that might get involved for us in a couple of seasons' time. But we will need stronger, I think, if we're going to rely on our youth intakes to provide us with the kind of players that might be capable of going deep into a European competition and challenging Real Madrid and Barcelona for titles. The facilities currently stand at great training and great youth facilities and excellent academy coaching and good youth recruitment. It's the youth recruitment that I am desperate to try and improve above all of the others, but that option has not been available when we've been in the boardroom for several months now. I'm hoping once we get into the end of the season, we might be able to ask for the youth recruitment to be developed further. On top of that, I think we will go for training and youth facility upgrades again to try and improve the quality of the players coming through and how quickly they develop once they're here. But we've got some way to go when it comes to developing our own youngsters. So maybe this summer, it could be the transfer market that we're relying on once more. With that in mind, we have already got those 2 signings confirmed. We've got the experience of Morten Hjulmand coming in, who can play with Pacheco as a rotation option as our deep-lying defensive midfielder. And I think he will be okay, not stand out, but okay. And then up front, we have Fabian Lutzi, who is very good in the air, 6'1". Mentally, there are a couple of suspect areas. That work rate I'm not keen on. He's not a lethal finisher, but certainly a squad player at least. I think he will be, and a Spanish player, which will help us when registering for European competition. But I think we will need greater reinforcements than that. In particular, I think we are in desperate need of 2 new fullbacks and a centre-half. That's what I think. What do you think? Where do we need to strengthen most urgently to make us competitive in the Champions League and push us closer to challenging those top 2 for the title? Are we good enough in midfield? Are players like Pacheco ever going to be good enough to play in La Liga? In terms of the average rating that he's getting, you would say so, but then when you look at his attributes, you wonder how he's managing to scratch out a career at this level. Do we have the goals in us to compete with the big teams? McComb looks like he could be the man for next season, but what about playing alongside him? Rossi's not getting any younger. He will be turning 32 during the next campaign. He's been in the top 3 La Liga goal scorers for the past 2 seasons. He's managed to bag 19 and 18 respectively. He could get a couple more today to push him to 20 league goals, but he is a bit of a ticking time bomb. How much longer can we keep him going? Those physicals are going to fall off the edge of a cliff pretty soon. And then what about the goalie? Barossi is like a Marmite keeper. I couldn't stand him in the Segunda Division. I don't think I could do without him in La Liga. But there might be better out there. Do we look to strengthen? Do we try and bring in a keeper? And I am still tracking a German keeper who could be available for free at the end of the season. Do we need to make improvements there? I think that we're quite strong in the midfield areas. Milanese is now pretty highly rated. I think Diego Rosa is a decent option as well. And I think we've got 2 good players that can play as this attacking central midfielder. Kieran Murray has come in and he scored 5 goals and got 3 assists, and he only arrived in January. And of course, Cordoba is our most highly valued player and still only 20 years old and a wonder kid to boot. But do you think maybe we need more? Are these players not suited to the Carrilero role? Would you be looking to strengthen the midfield further? Would you be looking to take any reinforcements that you could get? Let me know down in the comments, and we're going to pick a side that's going to go out there and play Athletic Bilbao in this end of the season game. We've got thinking to do whilst we play it as we decide and mull over who's going to be with us for next year and who's going to face the axe. So as thoughts do turn towards reshaping the squad for next season, I think there's one thing that we are all agreed on, and that is Lander is an absolute stalwart and we can't do without him. Diego Rosa was carrying a little bit of a knock for today's game, so the great one comes in to play as a Carrilero for us today. He is no way cut out for this level, we know that, but he's like a son to me now. I'm desperate for him, by the way, to join the backroom staff at the end of his career. But I'm hoping that we might be able to get another 2 or 3 years of greatness from him yet. I do like the idea of taking a player that is in no way capable of playing at this level and continuing to just churn out the occasional performance from them. It's like having a mascot that actually dons his boots and plays, and I would love it if he was to get a goal or an assist in today's game. And here is the great man now, feeds the ball in through to McComb, and he starts waddling his way forward to support the play as well. Look at him there. He's not exactly box to box, but over 10 yards. Well, he'll put in a bit of a shift, and look at that. The ball If Murray had read it better, that could well have been an assist. He's just not on the same wavelength as the Great One. The highlight continues though, so maybe this is not going to be one for us. As Bilbao start to come forward, they've got him behind us. The fullbacks, by the way, it's the fullbacks. I desperately am looking for both left and right backs for next season. As they get up ahead of our left back and clip a post with the header. 17 minutes on the clock, gets the ball across, it's blocked. Landers on it, just patrolling the midfield. He is like an Adonis, he's just majestic in there, knitting everything together. It's like having a general out there on the pitch. Rosanas, Milanese, Macomb, another header. Tipped over the bar, I think he was offside anyway. But we are looking reasonable at the start of this game, considering the quality of team that we're playing. I did think at one stage this could be a crucial last game. I thought the gap from 4th to 5th could be pretty close, and we might go into this Bilbao game potentially needing to beat them in order to qualify for the Champions League. But we've already done the work there. Another thing you can pop down in the comments, by the way, is about preparing a squad for Champions League football. Exactly how many players do you think you need in order to be competitive in the league and potentially qualify from the group stages of the Champions League? I like to operate with a small squad traditionally. Even when I've got a full bench, I probably only rely on maybe 15, 16, terrible short corner, 16 players to get me through the majority of a season. I'm feeling like we might need a little bit more than that. I'm quite Bielsa-like in wanting to just play the same first choice 11 as frequently as I can. I don't like to have too many unhappy players around the squad. I think a big part of our success has been the dynamics and having such a happy camp and a strong hierarchy. But when you're planning for Champions League campaigns, what kind of squad size are you looking for? 20? 22? Do we need a backup in every position on the pitch that is the equal of the player that they are contesting for a first choice berth with? Not sure. Let me know down in the comments. We've now got to the half-hour mark, and I'm not sure we've had a really good chance yet. And maybe we're going to go into the half-time interval all square. We are indeed. It's 0-0. I think we've got a bit of work to do because we want to finish the season on a high. Let's tell the boys we expect a bit more from them. So I think the game might have a small bug. I checked the player ratings at half-time. It says Lander is on a 6.6, which clearly, for anyone that's watched that first half, cannot be the case. So we might need to report that in the Bugs forum on the Sports Interactive website. But we are underway, and we did tell the players at half-time that we weren't that impressed with their performance, and we wanted them to up their game in the second half. On that note, we're into the highlights again. 51 minutes, although we don't have the ball. And it might not be too long, until we're looking at changes, because we've only got 2 players on an average rating of above a 7, and that is not impressive. Worth bearing in mind once more, we are playing a decent side. Come on, if we are going to be competitive next year, we need to be winning more of these big games against the top sides. When it really matters, they are stroking the ball around across their back line, and they're gradually working their way through us. They've got in behind our fullbacks once more. They've clipped a post for a second time this game. It's those fullback positions where we are weak. Lingway is apparently playing an average rating of a 7, but I don't see it myself. Macomb is through, 4th effort he's had on goal today. Rather than take the keeper on, he's hit it early. I'm not sure that was the right decision. We're into the highlights yet again. We need to win an aerial duel at the back. We have. We've got the ball to Murray. Now Macomb, he's got a bit of space. He could stretch his legs a little here. He's got a good ball in, and there is the old-timer. Macomb and Rossi combine. Maybe I'm writing young Rossi off a little bit too prematurely. What am I thinking? He'll only be 32 next year. Plenty of life in the old dog. Maybe he could be a Champions League striker. You've got to remember, before we bought him in on a free transfer, I think he'd been released by Lazio. He'd barely played any football in his career. I think he'd had one season down in Serie C, and that was about all that he'd mustered, apart from some substitute appearances for some of his other clubs. We're going to throw on a couple of subs, freshen it up, see if we can hold on and grab a victory on the final day of the season. Okay, couple of little changes made, one at left back, and then we brought Cordoba into midfield to see whether he can maybe get on the end of a chance as we actually just keep them at bay one more time. Cordoba's a bit of a worry for me, you know. He was superb last season. I realise he's only 20. He's our top valued player. He's now branded a wonder kid. He's not been that impressive this campaign. He's not got a match rating above a 7 this year for his average, and he's not returned anywhere near as many goals or assists this campaign either. I am a little bit concerned as they hit the post for the third time. Do you know what? I'm tempted to move my keeper up front because Bilbao deserves something from this game. We've not been at our best, and we've ground this one out a little bit. The boys are doing the lap. They're enjoying the applause of the Europa faithful. And I think we got a little bit lucky there. I'm even going to end the season with a negative team talk and tell them I'm not that impressed with how they performed. What I am impressed with, however, is our league position at the end of the season and the number of points that we have accumulated. Be interested to see just how far we finished behind the champions. Real Madrid have sealed the title. We're on 78 points. They hit 85. We're only 3 wins away from the top clubs in Spain. We need to go away and have a very big pre-season transfer window. We also need to try and upgrade those facilities one more time. And we're going to see you for the start of next season on Monday, because now Beg Borrow Steel is all about trying to win a trophy.